everybody. Okay, so I'm back with another K-drama to see, have you already seen it? And if not, is this something that you would check out? So before we get into this video, you already know the drill. Like this video, follow me for more, and share this with someone that you know that would be into K-dramas and will potentially check this out. So let's get into it. The name of today's K-drama is called Love, Feature, Marriage, and Divorce. Now, this K-drama I had never seen before, and it was actually recommended to me quite a bit of times in the comments. And so here I am with my take on it after watching the first season. As I make this video, I would like to let you know that I have not remembered their names, but I have remembered their age ranges enough to kind of paint the description of what's going on in the show. So let's get into it. So as we're watching the show, there are 3 writers or DJ podcast creators for a radio station that work together, and they're dining out together. One is in her 30s, one is in her 40s, and the last one is in her 50s. Now, all 3 of these women are married, and the one that's in her 50s, I guess the 30-year-old makes a suggestion to her about maybe she should do something about her appearance. Isn't she scared that her husband is going to change his mind about her? Now, the 50-year-old kind of says, no, my husband doesn't care about that kind of stuff. We've been together for 31 years. He's not going to leave me because of something like this. And so I feel like that was essentially jinxing her. Now, as the next part of this same episode, the husband goes into their room, for the 50-year-old woman, by the way, and he essentially says to her that he thinks that they should live apart because he says that he feels like he's lacking, and it hurts and pains him to see her like this, knowing that he's not doing his part as a man. Okay? So now, that's one couple, and that's their problems. And then when all of this is happening, the mom essentially takes the kids apart, or takes the kids aside and kind of says, hey, you know, it's hard for her, as you can tell watching the show, to tell this. She says, your dad and I, we are going to live apart because, you know, your dad has some things that he needs to sort out for himself, but I'm sure that we'll all get back together. So now the kids, they're hearing this, they're in utter disbelief. The next day, they see their dad, and they plead with their father not to separate from their mom. The oldest, being a daughter that's 20 years old, says to the dad, I'm 20, but my brother's only 12. He still needs both parents together. Aren't you concerned about what people are going to say when I get older and I need to get married? And people learn that my family is a broken family. So with the kids saying what they're saying, it kind of makes the dad feel a little bad about the fact that he wants to leave his wife. And so he agrees and says that he won't leave and he will stick around. Now, let's go to the 40-year-old woman. The 40-year-old woman, she looks like she has the picture-perfect life, until we kind of see some things transpire between her and her mother that she's estranged from. Now, her mom, she's essentially shunned her mother because she blames her mom for the reason why her father passed away. And as we watch the series a little more, or just a couple episodes in, we essentially learned that the father was having an affair on the mom, and the mother essentially said to him that, you know, she wants to get divorced. The dad was on his way to the courthouse to meet the mother for the divorce papers when he gets hit by a car, which leads to him being unalive. Now, the daughter, all she was aware of was the fact that her dad was on his way to the courthouse to get divorced from the mom. And so she blames the mom, and she says, it's your fault that my dad's not here. Now, at first when I watched this, I thought, wow, maybe she doesn't know that her dad was a total piece of crap that cheated on the mom. But then we learn, no, you knew. You learned from the situation that your father did, in fact, cheat on your mother. And you said, well, that still wasn't any reason for my dad to die. I still deserve to have my dad in my life just because you couldn't have him in your life. And then she proceeds to say to the mom, have you ever thought that maybe you were so difficult and unbearable to be with that led to dad stepping out of your marriage? At this moment, I decided, maybe I don't like her so much. But I will say I probably was getting ahead of myself. So now with everything going on, we kind of see that the mother, the 40-year-old mom, is pleading with her, like saying, please, I just want to see my granddaughter. Like, I really want to meet her. And the 40-year-old woman says, I told you, you would never get to meet my kid for as long as you live. I don't care what's going on with you. And don't ever reach out to us again. And so she says, get on a plane and leave. And now, instead of doing that, she actually calls the 40-year-old husband and says, I really didn't want to bring you into this, but my daughter's trying to tell me I have to go back to the Philippines and that I'm never allowed to see your daughter, and it pains me so much because I'm getting older and I don't know how much longer that I have. So using that trick, the dad kind of talks to his wife and says, listen, I understand things have happened with you and your mom, but you know, I tried to invite her over, or try to talk to your mom, try to this. Now, this woman who's 40 years old, she is obviously trying to keep up a front for her husband, because the last he was aware, or the last she had told him, she came from a stable home and her parents never got divorced. And now he's learning that not only were your parents not get divorced because your dad stepped out, your dad died as a result of that. And you led us to believe that you grew up in a stable home, right? So now she's scared that her husband is going to leave her because she hid something so deep and serious from him. Okay. So she goes to her mother and she pretty much says, how could you do this? And it's a whole, you know, fit of them kind of going back and forth at them. And it kind of gets emotional for the both of them. So that's the situation with that. Now, the 30-year-old couple. The 30-year-old couple, they also look like this young, free-spirited, happy couple where the husband is kind of just abiding by everything that his wife wants and doing everything that his wife wants in order to ensure that his wife is happy. Now, obviously, as we've learned from the past 2 couples, everything is not always what it seems. And what we learn is the husband had a dream, and when he had the dream, he got up, ran to his office. He didn't wake his wife or anything. And he looks up some things in a book about what this dream means, and that's when he learned that it's a conception dream. So now his wife goes to his office, and it's just like, why did you wake up? Because you ended up waking me up, etc., etc., etc. And then the husband says, oh, I had a dream about this. Are you sure that you're not pregnant? And the wife goes, no, I'm not pregnant. Now we're also learning that the wife has no interest in becoming a mother at any point or stage in her life. She really enjoys just being a free-spirited woman, and that's just what the situation is. Now, as the storyline progresses, the first marriage that we watch crumble right before our eyes is the 30-year-old couple. We learn that he not only was living a double life with a second phone, but that woman was pregnant. So now they are on the verge of a divorce. I don't know what happens because, again, this is only the first season. So that's where it ended with the 30-year-old couple for me. And it looks like the wife is going through all these things. At first she wanted to leave him, but then her mother-in-law kind of talked her into it and said, hey, what if he promises never to contact this woman, never to anything? Will you stay with him? Because it's going to be harder for you as a divorced woman to meet people and everything and then some. So now the woman, after, mulling it over some bit, thinks, no, I'm not going to let go of my husband. I'm going to stick with him. And then she proceeds to kind of just be nothing but nasty and mean to him. So now the 40-year-old couple, things start to unravel for this picture perfect couple. And it all starts, well, it started a while back, but where we see it, it starts when the 40-year-old woman's husband's father passes away. And it's very interesting because he has a really close relationship with his stepmother. I think the stepmother's only like 18 years older than him or something like that, 17, 16. I don't know what the age difference is. So it looks like the stepmother is in love with her husband. That's what it appears to be. And so she's doing all these things with him, saying, oh no, we need to go here. We need to be this. We need to be this. We need to be this. Oh, I just love you so much. Oh, I cooked your favorites. So she looks literally picture perfect. And then the two of them go to a movie theater, and her husband, who's about 70 something years old, starts having chest pains. And we can tell because he obviously clutches at his chest. He's having a heart attack in the movie theater. He reaches out, grabs his wife's arm. She turns, looks at him. His eyes are kind of growing wider and bigger, almost bulging out his head. And the wife kind of just turns her head back to the movie and continues. She literally ignores him long enough for the heart attack to take place entirely and for him to collapse. Then after he collapses, she waits another 5 minutes before she gets up, runs out and says, my husband, he's collapsed. Now this kind of looks suspicious because why were you doing all of that? But then as their storyline progresses, we kind of start to see that, one, the stepmother is eyeing her stepson a little too weirdly. Okay, so that's what happened. And now we're not sure that how the father had died is a real thing. It might have something to do with the stepmother. But that's just a guess. And keep in mind, I've only seen the first season, so bear with me. Now, lastly, for the 50-year-old couple, despite his kids pleading with him that, just stay with her mom, just stay with her mom, just stay with her mom, what ends up happening one night is while they're hosting a sleepover at their house for their younger son, the dad comes back home drunk. And in coming back home drunk, he pretty much tells his wife that he met someone else and he wants to leave her. Now, can you imagine hearing news like this while you have your younger child outside with all of his friends and you have to put on a brave face and kind of like push past this? And then now you have to go through the proceedings of getting a divorce. So she breaks it down to her kid and pretty much tells her kids, like, your dad and I, we are getting separated, X, Y, and Z. And we learn that I guess the daughter had seen the dad that night out with his mistress because the dad was running back from the grocery or the supermarket with groceries. And so the daughter is utterly disgusted. So now the daughter pretty much says to the mom, you don't have to stay with him for us. You can do so much better by yourself. You were doing better by yourself before you even took someone like him up off the street. So come to find out, the mother is from a rich family. They disown her because she got together with this peasant man. That's just what's going on. And so the kids seem to be entirely on the mom's side after they learn of the father's affair, and they're pleading with her to hurry up and leave and everything and then some. So we now have to watch everything unfold for this family because of an affair. So far, I just want to let you know, we're at 2 affairs. Now, originally, I think within like the first maybe 2 episodes, I was kind of struggling to watch it. But as the storyline progressed, my interest was piqued. And I say that to say, typically whenever I watch a K-drama, I give it up to 5 episodes. Because oftentimes, by that 5th episode, I get hooked. And that's kind of like what happened here. And so now, I just want to see what goes on with the stepmother, what goes on with the kids, what goes on with the husband, what goes on with everything. I've been trying really hard not to read spoilers, not to watch spoilers, and not to continue on to the 2nd season until I made a video to let you guys all know. So let me know if this is something that you've already checked out. Let me know in the comments how you felt about it. And if you haven't already seen it, let me know if this is something that you would check out. And as usual, thank you so much for watching. Okay, thanks, bye.